Many programmers prefer Dapper over EF Core for various reasons. I will not get into those reasons in this video. That doesn't matter. What matters is that supposedly you have selected Dapper for your project, and the question is, what then? Because here's the situation. EF Core is here and Dapper is here. There is a gap, the functionality gap to close. You might not need all of this, you might need less, but the gap is still there to close. In this video, I will show you the elements of the persistence implementation that will be your task to accomplish, because the Dapper is not doing that. It's not that the question whether Dapper is good or bad. It is good in what it does. The devil is in the details. So let me show you the demo, and then we will walk through the list of items that you need to address in a persistent solution based on Dapper. It's as simple as that. This is the domain model I will be using. It is modeling the company. I will be persisting the companies. What's interesting, what's important is that the company object contains another object of type country, and it also contains a list of other objects of type address. So it is a fairly complex entity type. You will quickly notice that this model is immutable. I like working with immutable models and Dapper at the same time. They work perfectly together, but that will not be too important. All you will see in this video will also work with mutable models too. And so the functionality gap between the Dapper and full ORMs is that Dapper won't help you with the database schema. You will need to design it one way or the other using tools and I don't know what, or manually, whatever way you choose. It's your job to do. This SQL statement will create the companies table. Another script will create the addresses table, including the foreign key from the companies table. Everything is my responsibility here. With an ORM, you would expect the ORM to manage the database schema. The very next thing that follows is applying migrations. Again, you can choose to use third-party tools or libraries, or to make your own migration solution. Migration solutions are not a big deal. I often implement them myself, and then I don't depend on any libraries and tools. So in this project, I made a very short migrations manager, as you can see it. Why I'm doing that? Because Dapper doesn't care about the database schema and upgrading the database. It just doesn't do that. As you can see, it's a very short piece of code that makes sure that the database is updated to the latest migration, that the migration is stored in the database so that you can upgrade it further later. It's very simple, and it all works like 50 lines of code or something. This is where it becomes important. This is the integration tests fixture, which depends on the database, obviously. And what it does is to first ensure the database has been dropped, and then recreates it and ensures all the migrations have been applied before a batch of tests runs on that database. Let's move to real work, querying the database. This is the query for companies without addresses, so it will be a very simple query with just one join on the countries, because we need to recreate that country object inside the company object. Executing fairly simple queries is straightforward with Dapper. Give it a query, take the stretches of columns returned, materialized into DTOs, and then construct your output model, whichever it is. Tell it what column to split on, consume the data, that's it. At this level of complexity, Dapper is very likable, you must admit. But the complexity will sneak in. It's very important that you understand that all that code is just one line of code in an ORM-based code. And so will be everything you will see in this file which will be much more complicated with Dapper. Modifying the database is way more complex. For example, querying an entity together with its child rows can be very demanding. I'm using it here because I want to modify that entity and then save the changes back to the database. You might need to implement a similar query just for the querying purposes. The principle is the same. There will be a couple of joins in any large query, including left joins where needed. For example, addresses are optional in companies, so it's left join. Materializing a multi-level object from one query is much harder. Initialize the root object once. Terminate if child columns are null, then. Otherwise, collect the child columns, convert them into a high-level object, add that object into the collection. I will complete the code so that it works, and return the materialized company, but this company will contain an entire collection of addresses inside, plus the country object in the root level. Do you like it this way? You should know that in EF Core this is one line of code. It just does all this for you. But again, I'm not judging. If it's Dapper, it's Dapper. This is it. This is not good or bad. This is reality. Now you can optimize SQL if you like. If you hear something from your DBA, if they told you, hey, don't do it this way, do it that way, you would do it that way here. So yes, you have more freedom when you have the raw SQL which you are controlling. That's one of the principal reasons why people choose Dapper in the first place. Updating the entire entity with contained objects in it will be complex too, but in a different way. Dapper has no change tracker. That is another significant difference between micro ORMs and ORMs. Any change tracker is your responsibility. There's none here. The database itself is the authoritative source of truth regarding the state of the objects. And you will execute changes you see in memory against the database so that the final state of the database is the same as in memory. That is the game we will play. But before I implement the updating logic, which will be a hefty piece of code, let me remind you that this channel and everything on it is free thanks to the sponsors. If you like what you have learned from this video and all other videos on my channel, then please consider joining the growing community of sponsors on my Patreon page. That will give you access to this source code and all the source code from all other videos, and also some goodies that are not available on YouTube. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to updating the company entity. Updating the company row itself is very easy, but that is not all. There are also addresses. So I will first locate the foreign key, and then look, I will delete the address objects missing in the in-memory company object. And for each address that remains in the in-memory object, I will upsert it, update or insert new depending on the state of the database. A decent change tracker would do all this for you. If your project grows large, you will eventually want to design a change tracker of your own to improve performance. Actually, it goes the other way around. If you notice performance degradation and figure out it's because of a lot of updates, then you will probably want to implement a lightweight change tracker. You don't want to implement an entire EF Core just because of that, but you will need to do something. This would be the place where you would start solving the performance problems with updates. Let me show you how deleting missing addresses works, for example. And the upsert operation is similar. It will update the address row, and if no rows were changed, it means that the address doesn't exist in the database, then it will insert the new row. You might play with the merge SQL statement if you like, so it's up to you. One more detail is missing: transactions. An operation like this one should be protected because there are multiple updates in the database. Before I start doing anything, I would begin the transaction and I would commit it at the end, just before exiting the method. The transaction is disposable, so any other exit path, including exceptions, would roll back it. But now I need to pass the transaction in every Dapper call, which doesn't end here. I need to pass the transaction to every method I call to, so that all other methods can receive the transaction and then pass it to Dapper. All these methods are private, so I will just survive with this lightweight solution to the problem. The problem will happen if any of these operations is a part of a larger set of operations. Then this simple solution would be dubious, even though SQL Server would support it. I think that in that case, I would go in the direction of designing a unit of work, an explicit unit of work. So this is the complete querying part for complex entities. And this here is a part of the updating logic for entities. What you see here is the minimum, the bare minimum of the complexity that might hit your project. Again, I have nothing against Dapper. I'm using it quite a lot in my projects, but you need to be aware that all these elements I have shown you in this video will be your responsibility, and they will sometimes be much more complex than what you have seen here, depending on the size of your project. So just be aware of them before you embark on that voyage.